Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to yet another episode of The Last Science Show. We are honoring black scientists, and we are having a ball while doing it. Thank you for tuning in. It's about time to highlight another queen, another legend who was honored in the film Hidden Figures. I'm talking about Mary Jackson. Mathematician Mary Jackson was one of a small group of African American women who worked as aeronautical engineers called human computers at NASA during the space age. Mathematician Mary Winston Jackson excelled academically in a time of racial segregation. Her math and science skills earned her a position as a human computer for NACA, and she later became NASA's first black female engineer. Along with serving a vital role in the development of the space program, she helped other women and minorities advance their careers. Jackson died in February 2005 at the age of 83. The story of her groundbreaking contributions to NASA was later dramatized in the 2016 film Hidden Figures. Mary Winston Jackson was born on April 9, 1921 in Hampton, Virginia, the daughter of Ella and Frank Winston. She attended Hampton's all-black schools and graduated with high honors from George P. Phoenix Training School in 1937. 5 years later, she earned dual bachelor's degrees in mathematics and physical science from Hampton Institute. After college, Jackson took on a series of jobs, including teacher, bookkeeper, and receptionist. Then in 1951, she found employment at the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, known as NACA, the predecessor agency to NASA, in Langley, Virginia. She worked at the West Computers section as a research mathematician, known at the time as a human computer. In 1953, she moved to the Compressibility Research Division of NACA. Though President Franklin D. Roosevelt's Executive Order 8802 prohibited discrimination in the defense industry, Virginia state law still enforced segregation in the workplace. All work facilities had separate restrooms and cafeterias designated white or colored in the company cafeteria. Whites could select their food choices and sit in a lunchroom. Black people had to make their food requests to a cafeteria attendant and then go back to their desk and eat, an experience Jackson considered an indignity, and it definitely is. That's a shame. After several months of separate and unequal accommodations, Jackson had had enough. She considered resigning, but a chance encounter with a supervisor changed her mind. After hearing her complaints, he invited her to work for him, and she accepted. He quickly saw her potential and encouraged her to take engineering classes. In time, she was promoted to aeronautical engineer, making her NASA's first black female engineer, and developed expertise working with wind tunnels and analyzing data on aircraft flight experiments. By 1978, Jackson changed positions to be a human resources administrator. She served as both the Federal Women's Program Manager in the Office of Equal Opportunity Programs and as the Affirmative Action Program Manager. From then until her retirement in 1985, she helped other women and minorities advance their careers, advising them to study and take extra courses to increase their chances for promotion. I recommend that today, too. Take extra classes, get some extra experience so you know what you're doing out there. During her career, Jackson served on many organizations, boards, and committees, including the Girl Scouts of America, and was honored by numerous charitable organizations for her leadership and service. She died at age 83 on February 11, 2005, at Riverside Convalescent Home in Hampton, Virginia. In 2016, the story of Jackson and her NASA colleagues Katherine G. Johnson and Dorothy Johnson Vaughn, who calculated flight trajectories for Project Mercury and the Apollo program in the 1960s, made it to the big screen in Hidden Figures. Janelle Monáe portrays Jackson in the film. In 2018, it was announced that Jackson Elementary in Salt Lake City, Utah, named for President Andrew Jackson, would be renamed Mary W. Jackson Elementary School in honor of the groundbreaking NASA engineer. In June 2020, NASA renamed its DC headquarters after Jackson to the Mary W. Jackson NASA Headquarters. Mary Jackson. Thank you for persevering, pushing through, and paving a way for us here today. Thank you, viewer, for joining me on this episode of The Last Science Show. Continue to like, subscribe, and comment for more great content. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good science. The first black scientist we are going to honor is George Washington Carver. George Washington Carver was an African-American scientist and educator. Carver is famous for many inventions, including a number of uses for the peanut. George Washington Carver was born enslaved and went on to become one of the most prominent scientists and inventors of his time, as well as a teacher of the Tuskegee Institute. Carver devised over 100 products using one major crop, the peanut, including dyes, plastics, and gasoline. Carver was most likely born in 1864, enslaved in Diamond, Missouri, during the Civil War years. Like many children of the enslaved, the exact year and date of his birth are unknown. Carver was one of many children born to Mary and Giles, an enslaved couple owned by Moses Carver. A week after his birth, Carver was kidnapped along with his sister and mother from the Carver farm by raiders from the neighboring state of Arkansas. The three were later sold in Kentucky. Among them, only the infant Carver was located by an agent of Moses Carver and returned to Missouri. The conclusion of the Civil War in 1865 brought the end of slavery in Missouri. Moses and his wife Susan decided to keep Carver and his brother James at their house after that time. As she had been in high school, Jemison was very involved in extracurricular activities at Stanford, including dance and theater productions, and served as head of the Black Student Union. She received a Bachelor of Science degree in Chemical Engineering from the university in 1977. Upon graduation, she entered Cornell University Medical College and, during her years there, found time to expand her horizons by studying in Cuba and Kenya and working at a Cambodian refugee camp in Thailand. After Jemison obtained her MD in 1981, she interned at Los Angeles County / University of Southern California Medical Center and later worked as a general practitioner. For the next 2.5 years, she was the Area Peace Corps Medical Officer for Sierra Leone and Liberia, where she also taught and did medical research. Following her return to the United States in 1985, Jemison made a career change and decided to follow a dream she had nurtured for a long time. In October, she applied for admission to NASA's astronaut training program. The Challenger disaster of January 1986 delayed the selection process, but when she reapplied a year later, Jemison was one of the 15 candidates chosen from a field of about 2,000. On June 4, 1987, Jemison became the first African-American woman to be admitted into the NASA astronaut training program. After more than a year of training, she became the first African-American woman astronaut, earning the title of Science Mission Specialist.